Good afternoon, this is Jeff with Sewer Tech Northwest. We're at 605 North Grant Street here in Newburgh. Located, right now we're starting in the ADU, just as flow goes. It's the direction the ADU flows from here to the main house, then off to the street. So just off to the right side of the ADU and shop combo, you have kind of a little wood shed here. Convenient little 3-inch ABS cleanout that hides under a little hatch. We're going to check the overall condition and serviceability of the sanitary sewer line. Water was just running here a moment ago from upstairs, so we're going to keep it off here for a moment. Once we get over into the main house, we're going to shift to a different access point. Off we go here. And so pretty quickly, almost immediately upon access, we're into cast iron pipe. And that looks pretty reminiscent of transite there, 4-inch transite. Do have some root penetration here at about 9.5 feet. All right, now transitioning here into 4-inch ABS plastic. We're going to get some water turned on here just to get through the twists and the turns. Now we're going to go do some quick locates just to verify where we've gone under the main home and popped out the other side. Then we'll probably move over to a different access point. Okay, so where we are right now, if you go walk on the right side of the main house, there's two cleanouts. You've got one, both cleanouts are on the right side of the home, but one is very near the rear right corner of the house. The other one is about halfway up the right side of the house. So one halfway up would appear to be the main line cleanout for the actual main home. I think everything prior to that we are currently going through right now, I think almost exclusively services the ADU shop combo. In fact, that right there, that's the turn where the line turns away from after popping out from underneath the right side of the home. My camera right now is upside down. There's a clean out right here. It's at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. We're going to go drop into that clean out here in just a moment. And I did stop just shy of a belly there. It's going to be easier to take a look at that thing from the other access point, so we'll go through that here in a moment. And as we come out the other side, like this right here, you do have a little bit of standing water. This right now, we're only sitting around a 1/16 quarter inch of water. That's not something I would generally recommend repairs on. It's just too small. That kind of stuff there takes quite a lot of abuse on a homeowner's side for it to ever come into play and affect functionality. Okay, so where we are right now, this is just before the line shoots underneath the main house. So it looks like all the pipe underneath the home, the pipe that spans underneath that the main home there, is updated ABS. You got some unupdated stuff on either side of it, but I'm glad to see that got dealt with. You don't want to have old concrete pipe underneath the home. There's a reason for it. The joints just don't hold up, and you don't want open joints underneath the house. So then we've got the root intrusion here, which we're going to locate. Right now, relatively small. Keep in mind though, I don't know if these have ever been cut to trim them back. Two, if a line is not used very frequently, roots will atrophy. If they're not being fed sewage and water all the time, they don't have a reason to grow and exist. So they'll often be very, very small. Once a line is used on a regular basis, it is not uncommon at all for roots to accelerate in their growth once they have a reason to establish themselves more. So be aware of that. Anytime there are roots, it is always something I recommend doing repairs on because they are unpredictable. Right now, we might be getting a very, very minimized view of them, being that this house does not appear to be lived in a whole lot with much water going through it. So if for some reason they are not repaired, you want to keep an eye on things, rescope in about 1 year. That's assuming people are actively living in this place. If they're not, you're probably not going to see much change there. All right, this one just so happens to be in about the only dirt patch between, well, there's some gravel here, but this is before the line shoots under the concrete. You're about 1 foot 8 inches deep there. Those stringies there just appear to be cobwebs. Those do not appear to be roots. So that is something I recommend a correction on there to fix the root intrusion. So if for some reason repairs get bumped off down the road, you're kind of waiting to see what happens with it and whatnot, you're going to want to rescope the line about 1 year. That's especially after the place has been lived in fairly frequently to see what they look like. Cut roots as needed. That's never the ideal option, especially when it's shallow and it's under dirt like that. It's just ideal to just fix it. But be aware, in the ideal scenario, you do much larger swaths, transition joints, when you have plastic meeting old pipe materials. Those, unfortunately, can be sometimes very weak to root intrusion. Sometimes you want to bolster those up by actually pouring concrete around them to give an added layer of protection, because anytime you have old pipe materials and new pipe materials meeting each other in close proximity to root systems, especially at shallow depths, it is not uncommon to end up with a root intrusion again down the road. So ideally, when you do these things, you do larger swaths to get those transition joints farther away. The other option is, look into the cost difference. It's certainly going to cost more, but you could always epoxy line the old stuff from basically this point here over to the main home. That's going to give you basically a continuous piece of pipe that doesn't have all the weak points in it. It's a real concern. I see a lot of re-intrusions, especially at shallow depths, and when you have just spot repairs of old pipe and new pipe when they come together. So it's something to be aware of, if nothing else. Sometimes it never happens, sometimes it does, but it happens frequently enough. I like to at least clue people into that possibility. So basically up to where we stopped there, the line has good flow as it sits right now. Again, the roots right now are not affecting functionality. That doesn't mean that's not going to change. I have a feeling those are going to start growing once this place is lived in on a frequent basis, so be aware of that. It flows well now, but that doesn't mean it's going to remain that way. So at least keep an eye on it if it doesn't get repaired. And even if it does get repaired, I would still recommend rescoping periodically to watch for an intrusion through a transition joint. If you'd updated, for instance, everything from basically the transition to cast iron or transite on, that risk goes down significantly because you don't have all the weak points and seams for them to punch through.